Good morning, gonna try second time lucky. For some reason my music started playing on my phone, the first video that I tried to do. I wanted to just jump on and just discuss a topic that I've seen a lot of people walking into the clinic with problems in this specific area this week, and it's areas in the upper back and the thorax. Now, ironically, when people have issues in that upper back and thorax, so when we talk about the thorax, we're essentially talking about anything that's on the midline, just essentially the head, upper back, pelvic area. That would all be considered the thorax. But the area that I'm specifically talking about is the thoracic area, which is the upper back and the rib cage. Now, when we talk about the upper back and the rib cage, a lot of people that have problems in this area won't necessarily be able to identify this problem. And the main obviously reason being is that when we look at our thoracic spine and our rib cage, it's a really super stable area because all the bones from the back, there are 12 bones in our thoracic spine and there are 24 ribs to then support this. And so it's a super stable area. So when things go wrong, we as a person do not tend to notice quite so much what's actually going on. So here are some of the symptoms that people that have thoracic issues might start to actually complain of. 1, neck pain. 2, back pain. 3, upper back pain. They also may struggle with issues such as restrictions in their breathing, changes in their posture, and a much higher risk of having shoulder injuries as well. Now, when we look at the thoracic spine, one of the biggest changes that we'll start to see is too much flexion. So when we look at a curve that should look like this, all of a sudden we're starting to see people sitting at desks all day that are starting to look more hunchy and forward drawn. Now, what that will start to do is it will start to make your head look like it's slouching forward, which it is. But the problem isn't necessarily with the neck, but the foundation underneath it. Because if we're getting that upper back movement that starts to actually push us forward, what we can start to see that's actually going to start to change other areas as well. So what we know about the thoracic spine is it's supposed to have very good extension. Now, if it doesn't have good extension, doing stuff like squats, deadlifts, bends, twists, pulls, pull-ups, etc., it sets our thoracic spine in a very vulnerable position. So if we're in this forward curled position here, what we'll start to see is as the head drags forward, we'll see an excess of strain on the muscles around the posterior part of the neck and the shoulder, leading up into the posterior part of the neck. Now, the other thing that we actually start to do is by pulling the shoulders forward and down with the thoracic spine, we actually start to shorten the distance in the front of the shoulder. And again, that shortened distance in the front of the shoulder can start to cause impingements in our shoulder muscles underneath the collarbone and around the humeral head. That's why those people that have slouched postures are much more likely to develop pain, but not always where the problem is, which is in their thoracic spine. Does that mean that we're not supposed to address the neck as well? Absolutely not. The problem obviously being within that slouched posture or that thoracic curve, what it will start to do is it will start to create excess strain on the neck and the other areas as well. So on YouTube, we have a really good video on ways that you can actually start to improve thoracic extension. Now, thoracic extension, the rib cage, you can actually stretch it yourself by doing gentle movements such like the cat-cow. You can also do thoracic extension exercises in itself or spinal twists. You can even start to release stuff like the anterior part of the shoulders and the pecs. And all of this will start to actually open up the chest, which will start to help improve with your breathing, improve with the movement in your upper back and your spine, which overall should start to reduce stuff like your back pain, your shoulder pain, your neck pain, but will start to allow you to have a better athletic performance. 1, because you can breathe better, and 2, because you can move better. And when you can move better, you'll start to be able to do stuff like squats easier, you'll start to be able to do stuff like overhead shoulder presses easier, etc., etc., etc. The other things that obviously with thoracic extension or rotation is concerned, if you're an athlete and you're doing stuff like running, that thoracic movement through the midline or that rotation needs to be there so that you can get that really good elastic spring so you can actually drive through your sprints, your runs, etc. So this is an area that a lot of us forget because it doesn't tend to get pain like other areas. So when practitioners are looking at a problem, we tend to fight the pain and not necessarily just the problem. If we fight the problem, the pain will eventually subside. So let's actually look for where the fire is being caused as opposed to where we see the smoke coming from. Patrick Hogg here from Complete Health, and I will speak to you again tomorrow. Hopefully you found some value. If you want to learn a little bit more about thoracic extension, there are loads of videos on thoracic extension on a YouTube channel, which is Complete Health Eastbourne. I'll speak to you soon.